Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Wrath of the Righteous with me, Bring It On. Get out of here. Make sure to take all of our loot with us.
Make way. Warrior Queen coming through with a round for the heroes. Whoa, the heart is packed. And you considered nixing this little shindig, Beth?
When Napier reaches the long table your party is gathered around, he heavily flops onto the bench and hands out the tankards of beer.
I did consider it, and I am still considering it. It hasn't even been a week since the last demon was booted out of Canabris, and we really should be in a period of mourning for all the city's fallen. But the people deserve to celebrate, and he deserves to be honored for saving the city and possibly all of Mendev.
Irabeth sighs. If you want to heap more praise on me, don't hold back.
Now that's how you celebrate your achievements.
Napier toasts you with her tankard.
According to the Watch reports, there has been no demon activity whatsoever outside Canabris. I get the feeling the fiends are as shocked by what happened as we are. What happened in the garrison, what you did, it was a miracle. I truly believe that the gods remembered us and decided to intervene.
Irabeth rubs her forehead pensively.
Beth, come on, you agreed. No serious business today.
All right, I'm done. No more. Who would have thought we'd be celebrating a successful attack on the Grey Garrison, our own fortress, and that we'd blow the roof off the place?
I just realized she has little Iamade buckles on her armor. That's really cool.
It's simply unforgivable.
There's a cheerful voice of someone sitting on the far right of the table. Or at the far right. Far corner of the table. There's no right. What am I saying?
While we're on the topic of the roof, there's already a rumor going around that you have been blessed by Iomade herself. And it was her power granted to you that destroyed the garrison's walls and roof. And it turns out the people want a little piece of that blessing for themselves. The townsfolk are gathering chunks of the garrison's rubble as souvenirs and talismans. And I'm sure they'll hit the black market soon enough. Oh, yeah. Here, read on this for me. For good luck.
Napier pulls out a piece of gray stone from her pocket. Breathe on this stone. We need all the luck we can get.
Nice. I'll put it on display at home. Or maybe I'll make a hole in it and wear it as a pendant.
Nevi! What are you on about now?
Irabeth mutters.
What do you mean? Do you see many people at this table who've been personally blessed by Iomade herself?
Well, a couple perhaps.
There's the same mirthful voice that joined in before.
Iomade's blessings are not conveyed through stones, and as public officials, we really shouldn't.
Irabeth looks to the end of the table where the voice originated. Her eyes widen as her words trail off.
I feel a little chastened after what you said about public officials. But I myself have acquired a few pieces of stone and also wish to ask our hero to breathe on them for good luck. So, what now? Are you going to toast me out of this fine establishment?
The woman dressed in unshowy finery raises her eyebrows.
Your Majesty.
Yes, it is I. I made the journey here to deduct the cost of repairing the garrison roof from your salary. We have not been introduced. Galfrey of Mendev.
The woman rises from her seat, approaches you, and holds out her hand. Kiss her hand. Rumors of your beauty were not exaggerated.
Thank you for the compliment. So, this is what he looks like. The one all Mendev is talking about. News of your deeds reached me even before my messengers could.
The queen offers a brief smile, which draws her hand as soon as you release it.
Your Majesty, we were just... I'll have them arrange...
Irabeth, finally recovering from the shock, bolts to her feet.
Calm yourself, Commander. I deliberately came here without any fanfare because I did not wish to draw attention away from our honored hero here. My personal guard and the force I brought with me are standing watch outside the city. I ordered all your sentries to stand down. They also deserve a break. Every person who tirelessly fought to save Canabris will enjoy themselves today. And my reinforcements will ensure peace and order.
We join our celebration, Your Majesty.
Please, don't your majesty me. We are in a tavern, not my court to Nerosian. Address me as you would any comrade in arms.
The queen laughs.
Concerning the celebration, as you can see, I already invited myself. I couldn't pass up the chance to meet the new hero all the Crusaders are talking about. And soon, not just Crusaders.
We all need to get some rest.
Because grand new deeds lie ahead, yes?
Your Majesty, my dear cousin.
Count, I admit I was surprised to learn that you valiantly joined the ranks of the city's defenders. Pleasantly surprised.
I live to please you, my queen. My first thought when Discari cruelly robbed us of noble Terendelev and half of Canabris' crusaders in one fell swoop was of you, my queen, and of how these events would weigh heavily on you. No one could have foreseen the demon attack, and we have so successfully held the defense here for 4 heroic crusades.
I'm going to drown him in the nearest well this very night.
Irabeth mutters.
I value your dedication and your eloquence. I hope you will continue to aid our soldiers.
The queen gives him a genuine smile.
Not a chance. You know that I am not made for the front lines. Excellent bash, but alas, I really must go. Important matters to be getting on with. A new shipment of wine from Kionin, and 3 beautiful creatures of the same provenance. But I will most assuredly come to say my farewells before your army departs on its campaign, which, wherever it may lead you, will undoubtedly be crowned with victory.
I shall hold you to that, Count. And now allow me to devote some time to the hero of the evening. I did not come here solely to give you this chance to celebrate, but all serious discussions and official announcements can wait until tomorrow. I have big plans for all of you, especially for you. But I want to keep you in suspense for a little while longer, so I shan't say another word. Let us mark this victory. My first toast is to you, the hero of Canabris. Now, what are we drinking?
Queen smiles archly.
The fires of Canabris have died down. Now the army's path leads to the walls of Drezen, a fallen citadel that the Crusaders have been trying in vain to reclaim for 70 years. The new piece on the board might give their efforts some added momentum.
Hey, that's me. I'm the new piece on the board. Is that him next to Irabeth? The hero who saved Canabris? The queen is coming. The queen.
Rise, warriors. Today is a day of sorrow and pride. Sorrow because we weep for our brothers and sisters who perished in Canabris. Pride because despite demonic treachery, our heroes repelled the attack and saved the city. I, Queen Galfrey of Mendev, declare this day the first day of the Fifth Crusade, and I am glad to introduce the one who will lead the attack on the forces of the Abyss, the hero of Canabris, Knight Commander of the Fifth Crusade, your leader from now unto victory or death. And now it's time to rest. Everyone is dismissed.
Everyone, return to your orders. Camps.
There. The troop review is finished. I'll give you some time to look around the camp, and then I shall expect your presence at headquarters.
My commander, please allow me to join you while you inspect our encampment. Are braces of armor better than... I don't see how that's better than my Grave Lucky bracers. Did I read this flavor text before? These bracelets have been with you through thick and thin. The right one is inscribed with your name, Don Quixote, and the left one with the words, I promise. Alright, let's do it once around the camp.
I'll go ahead.
Oh, here we go. These are the fighters of the Eagle Watch. I personally chose everyone that's standing here. I'm ready to vouch for each one of them. So many of our own have perished. And for what? Seeing so many happy faces today, it's so good. For us to keep fighting. For a day to come when no one else will have to die. No one... I can't talk to my companions quite yet. A lot of people are happy to serve. What are you looking up at the sky for? Think winged demons are about to fall on us? No, I don't think that's the reason. Maybe they will. I actually just like looking at the sky. Grandma Gretland, the director. A well-dressed old dwarf is lecturing a motley company, shaking her ladle at them belligerently. Noticing you, she flings up her hands. Good afternoon, your commanderness. Do you remember us? We're the crew from the next door theater company, the one you saved in Canabris, back when you weren't your commanderness yet. As you can see, we've come on the campaign with you. We signed up to clean pots and mend the soldiers' clothes. Keeping up a theater is expensive, so we all have to take side jobs. But we don't stop what we're doing. We're going to put on a play about your legendary feats. Of course, the crowd scenes are difficult. We can't find the people to play the hordes of demons. And we decided against using a ritual to summon real demons. Luckily, we have Master Kem. He's invented a way to solve this problem using sound. We caught a pig and some piglets who ran away from a burned out village. The glum and husky half-orc mumbles softly. We put the piglets in a box to scare them a little, and the sound they make is just like an approaching demon horde. But the most important question is, of course, choosing the lead actor who will play the great Knight Commander. We had to write Barney over it, breaking a number of lances, as well as a shovel, a rolling pin, and a set of back scratchers. We just couldn't decide no matter what. Maybe you can help us. We have two candidates that are most suited to the role. One will have the honor of conveying your heroism upon the stage commander. I'm to be played by a gnome? Not a gnome. Two gnomes. Or gnomes, not gnomes. Rubbledum and Hierophant are twins. One of them sits on the other's shoulders and puts on a long coat so they can play tall characters. They switch places every so often, so each gets their moment of fame. And that way they each only have to learn half the script. A Cyclops actor? He's completely tame, believe me. Has a few issues with articulation, but with a powerful physique. We'll make him a nice costume, wash him up, brush his hair. Truth be told, in our show you mainly just make a short heroic exclamations at the fateful moment. Like onward, or we'll never give up, or my heart burns with courage. Lambkin can definitely handle the script. Alright, I've made my decision. The entire crew looks at you, holding their breath. I'll be played by Lambkin the Cyclops. Wonderful. Sorry we took you away from all the important things heroes and commanders do. We're off to rehearsal. I mean, we'll wash some pots, then we're off to a rehearsal. Let's go, you lazy lumps. Don't embarrass old grandma now. A group of soldiers is talking loudly, laughing joyfully, and passing around a flask. So picture this. My sword is by the fire. There's two goblins about to snatch it, and three more are digging through my tent. And I'm sat in the bushes wearing just my mail shirt, wondering what the blast to do. No mercenary taught me about the mail shirt. You can't sleep in armor, but it's not so bad in mail, once you get used to it. Too bad no one told me not to go in the bushes without my sword. So what did you do? What did I do? I barked like crazy. Goblins are afraid of dogs, you know, so they all went wild and started running around. I spot my sword, and they spot me. So I jump over to the fire, wearing nothing but my mail shirt. and I grab my sword and I yell with my big tough voice. O Inheritor, grant me the power to crush these filthy creatures. My sword shining, the goblins are screaming. I jump to attack them, and they fight back. But I fought them off somehow. But ever since then, I never take a step without my weapon. Seelah takes a sip from the flask. Ha ha ha, that's some story. Hey, stop. Stop gulping. Leave some for us. We only just set off and you're already drinking. And with the queen in the camp. Stop this at once. The knights quickly snap to attention. Seelah raises the flask and says loudly, Right you are, Commander Tirabade. We are but drinking to the queen's health. Yeah, take Seelah's flask. Give me a sip too. For your majesty's health. Irabeth rubs her forehead with the palm of her hand. Commander, are you sure this is the right way to train your soldiers? Never mind. It's your business.
What a find!
Our anonymous pamphlet. I spit on the streets of Canabris. I spit on its granite walls and its stained glass windows. If tomorrow the ground trembles, splits apart, and devours this cursed city, I will not shed one tear. No one here, not a single soul deserves any compassion. Everyone who lives in this city is a criminal. If there were any justice in this world, every one of them would be hanging from the gallows. Prelate Holrun and Queen Galfrey chief among them. Ask anyone on the streets what they know of mongrels. The answer will be a dumb silence, with the lowered eyes of a scoundrel who knows their crimes but doesn't want to think about it. Mongrels, a disgusting nickname, which the residents of the city have given to the brave Crusader heroes who defeated the forces of evil, but paid for it with their health. Covered with scabs and tumors, bloated and gnarled, they were no longer beautiful enough to be tolerated by the very people they'd saved. As a reward for their heroism, the city dwellers exiled them to the sewers and damp caves beneath the city. The author of these words went down there and spoke with them. I'll have you know that the ugliest of them is more noble than all the paladins of Mendev, not to mention that head-chopping prelate and his murderous queen. And if any pretend that today's city dwellers aren't responsible for the crime of their grandfathers, then I'll spit in their face, for the grandchildren of the exiled are still down there, crawling in the mud and eating garbage. Everyone who knows about this, it does nothing. Everyone who should know but prefers blissful ignorance. I say they're all guilty, and they repeat the same crime every day. As long as this doesn't change, any citizen who desires to fight a demon should take a knife and stab themselves in the stomach. For your city is already rotten, you're no better than the demons. If anyone would repent and right this terrible wrong, they should turn their weapons on the prudish paladins who preach good, but defend an order that flies in the face of justice. Down with the paladins, down with the prelate Holrun, down with Queen Galfrey. There are fighters here that Her Majesty brought from the capital.
Follow my lead.
These are the Knights of Canabris. All that's left of the orders that were billeted in the city. I said bulleted at first. So I think that's all the loot. We can't talk to any of our companions yet, so there's no reason really to do so. I think there's loot inside these tents. I think it refreshes once we do the next part. Oh, this is Nura Dendawar's tent. Seems she brought a lot of unnecessary items along with her. That may be, but they are items that I can sell. Hey, there's a storyteller. We will talk to him in just a moment. Ah, there you are, you dashing troublemaker, you. Daeran flashes you a half-satisfied smile. Our short acquaintance is coming to an end. Very soon, you depart on your crusade, where you'll scrape by on horrible rations, struggle vainly to fall asleep amid snoring soldiers. be rudely awoken by their frozen cold, or to look upon the dour faces of self-righteous prigs, or you finally perish in the maw of some demon. I have a journey ahead of me too. I've just rented a sailboat in the south. I've also hired an excellent chef, and a host of other entertainments. Well, to each their own, I suppose. Daeran pauses, and suddenly adds in a more serious voice. You know, I am genuinely sad to see you go. It sounds like mockery, forgive me. I cannot switch off my venom gland on a whim, you see. But you intrigue me. Only we could have spent a little more time together. But of course, Daeran grimaces. Not under these circumstances. Let the Crusaders and the demons have at each other. With any luck, they'll take this entire sanctimonious spectacle down with them. Am I romancing him? I'll go with the middle path here. If you don't feel like you belong here, go. I'd like to see you again someday in the future. Get to know you better. It still sounds a little romantic. You can throw a banquet for me to celebrate our victory in Drezen. What do you say? Victory in Drezen. The optimism is so charming. Daeran smirks, then seems to start slightly. It continues in a more even tone. Well, should you prove lucky enough to survive, by some miracle, come and find me. Perhaps I shall even remember you. No promises, though. In any case, I tend to wait until the army departs. I do love a good send-off. Especially when it is I who is staying and someone else who is heading off to meet a dreary and hopeless end. Sometimes it does one good to ruminate on the unfairness of life. Well then, farewell, Commander. I assume I shall be your most precious memory on this most disgusting and exhausting road to the pointless slaughter of battle. Or if not the most precious memory, then at least the most stirring. Daeran smirks before instantly losing all interest in you. Or at least he pretends to. Alright, let's do a round to all these other tents.
That is not far.
A good day. Do you remember me? I'm Jernov. We spoke in the Defender's Heart. So you're the commander of the Crusade now. Aristotle knows it's hard to imagine someone worthier of taking up the post of the savior of Canabras. May the good gods help you prevail. Now, who are you? I'm a priest of Aristotle. Did we already read this? I completed my trials and took my holy orders only recently. Now I am serving my god and the people to the best of my ability. And what were you doing in the Defender's Heart? What I was bound to do under my holy orders. I healed the wounded and buoyed up the healthy to fight another day. Have you joined the Crusade? Don't take it amiss, but no, I haven't. I have my own task. I am needed in Chili Creek, a tiny hamlet which, due to some oversight, has been left without a priest for these many years. I'm about to set sail for there, but making my journey along Old Man Selen. I have to go. Ariston watch over you. The Queen is expecting you, Knight Commander, so I shall not detain you. We can talk later after our sovereign departs. Yes. 3 cheers for the Commander. Now answer my questions. Where are the mail shirts? According to the paperwork, we're supposed to have 50. I personally deposited the money in them in the Army's treasury. The burly soldier with an impressive beard greets you with a broad smile. Sir Garms, the camp quartermaster at your service. How may I be of help? Show me what you have for starters. Alright, we'll equip ourselves later. The bearded quartermaster gives you a friendly nod. What can I do for you? Tell me about yourself. The quartermaster looks away sheepishly. There isn't much to tell, really. I was born in Canabras, in a humble family. I got an education, taught myself to read and write. Got drafted into the army, spent 3 years as a shield bearer in the first line. I left after I did my time, and joined the Stonemasons Guild. I moved on to the shipwrights, and rose to a crew chief. Said to Iabaria twice. I returned with goods, made some money, built a house. I haven't started a family yet. I think I will, after we're done with this war. But a few years ago, something started gnawing at me. I got this feeling that I needed to go home, that there was a storm headed for my native city. When there's trouble in Mendev, there's only one thing to do. You go to the recruiter and sign up for the army. And so I did. At first they wanted to make me an infantry sergeant, but then they decided I'd be better fit in the supply department. I can take care of army property, and I'm pretty handy around a warehouse. Not to mention I know how to manage a band of helpers. So that's how I became a quartermaster. Wilster gives you a shy smile and shrugs, that this were a wholly unremarkable story, typical of any crusader. What are your duties in the camp? A little bit of everything. What's an officer to a soldier? A strict father. So what does this make a quartermaster like myself? Something like their mum, that's what. Make sure the lads have everything they need to defeat the enemy, and come back from battle in one piece. Wilster starts ticking off his fingers. That means food, firewood, medicine, tents, mended clothes, fixed weapons. The horses have got to be fed and watered. The camp's got to be fortified by the evening, and broken up by the morning. I make sure the wages are paid on time, and the wagon wheels don't squeak. And then when there are the reports. Gods, until you asked, I never realized how many duties I actually had. What did the soldiers think of their new commander? They mostly tell tales about your unusual power. They don't shy away from talking about you as a person, too. Soldiers always like that. If Amade herself descended from heaven, you bet they jabber on about how she grips her sword, how she looks good in her armor. The general impression about you is that you're a tough fighter, a true warrior. That's the best kind of commander, one knows the weight of a blade in a long fight. I have to go. Right to the chapel tent. We have had this tent to be used as our chapel. Even the less pious crusaders will come here to say their prayers when the final battle is upon us. I've seen it happen in my previous campaigns. Altar of Torag, the father of creation, the dwarven god of craft and kin. Altar of Serenray, the healing light, the goddess of the sun, healing and redemption. Altar of Aristil, old Deadeye, the god of hunting, farming, and the quiet pastoral life. Altar of Desna, the great dreamer, the goddess of freedom, travel, luck, and dreams. Altar of Amade, the light of the sword, the goddess of justice and valor, and the patron of the Crusades. The place has been sanctified, it can protect the area around it from the corruption of the abyss. And see any loot in there.
I'll go ahead.
This is the field hospital. Alas, the clerics of Canabras suffered especially heavy losses, so in desperate need of healers. We're a few, but the gods are with us. The prayers of good people around the world are with us. A beautiful day, isn't it? My dear lady, I've been sitting here for a long time. Would you like to help? Who, me? No, I definitely would not. Please act like I'm not here. I just like to watch people work. Let me see. Orthopraxy means things should be done right, not slapdash. A stout old man with a fuzzy gray beard greets you with a deep bow. Well met, Commander. You've caused quite the stir. Everyone thought Canabras was done for, but the gods had other plans. There was quite a blaze over the great garrison, all the vermin running out with their tails between their light legs. Assuming as a merchant he's not going anywhere, so I'm going to sell... How's one of this fork? Not junk, but we still have it. So I guess we'll just keep holding on to it for now. Yeah, I think selling stuff to him is a safe bet. We can always buy back the books later, I guess, if we want to. Hello, Commander. How can I serve the sacred cause today? Who are you? Vasily Rathamus, former rector of the Canabras Temple of Abadar, now your humble servant. In times like these, one cannot serve the god of cities while sitting comfortably behind a city wall. Pursue a sacred cause. I'll help you in any way I can. I wait your orders, Commander. Lead us onward to Drezen. How do you end up on the battlefield? Everyone here has a story like that, but mine is a rather boring one. Believe it or not, it was bureaucracy. When the old rector of the Canabras Temple died, the Abadar rest his soul. The church required a replacement. I volunteered and served for 30 years without incident. I prayed, organized festivals and funerals, bought candles, sanctified water. Boring mundane things that make up the daily routine of civilized society. But then civilized society failed. It was time for me to go to war. Praise Abadar, who led me through the ruins of the Defender's heart. Who's that boy with you? This one? Gowder the Shepherd, my apprentice. He's a smart boy, and his faith is strong. He serves Aristal, though, but there's still something he can learn from an old servant of Abadar. He'll be a great cleric when he gets a little older. Now, what kind of help can I expect from you? First, if you need a scroll with a divine spell, I have a lot of them. Something for every emergency. Second, while you're at the camp, I can read any scroll for you. Guaranteed. No surprises. You better not leave the camp without a cleric. I won't be going with you. You'll need someone else who can read scrolls. I might have to go. Go, may Abadar protect you. I think 2 more tents to go into, then we can return to Galfrey. Or just the 1 tent. Oh, the storyteller as well.
I know
Speak
the
to him
way.
in just a moment. Oh, this is mine and Nevia's tent. We're both used to traveling. The queen insisted our tent to be furnished like a commanding officer's. With a half plate of vigor. The massive bed is clean and neatly made. Only commanding officers are allowed such luxury during marches. This +2 half plate grants its wearer +2 enhancement bonus to Constitution. We also have level ups to take care of. Ember gets a new hex. Let's go and give her. Let's give her healing instead. No, cackle. Witch can cackle madly as a move action. Any creature that is within 30 feet that is under the effects of an evil eye hex, fortune hex, protective luck, or misfortune hex, caused by the witch, has the duration of that hex extended by 1 round. And spell-wise, give her more raise. Alright, he gets Danger Sense 2. It's Glitter Dust and Invisibility. Alright, cool. The Mythic Paths for them, abundant casting for her, of course. And probably the same thing for him. Just more spells, I think it's worthwhile. Oh, that's right, I want to see how this compares to her current armor. Better armor class, and +2 to Constitution. Oh, storyteller! Need to exit. Back outside. Godov smiles when he hears your footsteps. I'm going to congratulate you on your victory, and on acquiring mythical powers capable of casting down the strongest of demons. Have you decided to join the Crusade? I have not decided to, I'm afraid. My path and the path of the Crusade lead in the same direction, but alas, they are not yet one and the same. After the demons were driven away from Canabras, the path into the Worldwound became open, if only temporarily. I plan on using this opportunity to visit. They all fall silent. It doesn't matter now. I hate to bore you with the details of my venture, which may prove useless even for myself. However, I'll try to return to the Crusaders and aid them in their confrontation with the demons after I'm done. I hope to meet you again, in this world rather than the next. I got the page you're looking for from the Great Garrison. The storyteller carefully takes your find. Yes, you're right. Another piece of evidence from the past I have forgotten. The old elf expression becomes withdrawn. Thank you. If you find more pages like this, please bring them to me. Maybe by putting them together, I'll be able to lift the veil on the mystery surrounding my story. Discuss your past. Alright, examine the items I'm carrying. The storyteller nods politely. Let me touch them. I'll tell you what I can see. Give the storyteller the broken buckle and the necessary materials. Now restore this relic for me. The elf cautiously uncorks the vial and begins to work his enchantments. The essence evaporates, turning into light that streams into the buckle. Light thickens, becoming gold. The Covenant of the Inheritor. That's the name of this relic. This buckle once adorned the belt of a glorious knight from Mendev. It is the embodiment of a promise made to a young girl by a powerful deity. A great promise that has changed much in the world. When you touch the restored relic, a strange vision comes to you. It's if you can see the events that happened to it in the past. A burning sensation spreads across your chest from the very spot where your mysterious wound sometimes opens. What is this? The influence of the storyteller's spells? Or is it something else? I had a vision. The old elf frowns. How strange. You're a remarkable mortal. No one has ever shared my visions before. What do you think caused it? Perhaps these things have something to do with your destiny, or the fate of someone related to you. I do not have an answer, only advice. Seek out such relics. Look for what links them all, and you will know the truth. By the Covenant of the Inheritor. As soon as you touch the relic, you experience a vision. The events feel as if you lived through them yourself. Okay. I kneel before your altar and ask for the 1000th time. Where are you? What evil has struck you silent and forced you to turn your back on those of us sworn to you? Are you still alive? Answer us, Lasses Lanti. I beseech you. Answer me, Eredin. I need you now more than ever. My cheeks are inflamed with resentment. He doesn't answer our prayers. All of us, his devoted paladins, feel the great absence of our patron's disappearance. His grace over us has faded. We have been orphaned. Why then do I not grieve, but instead feel like a rejected daughter? I kneel in front of the altar in the tiny house's chapel and pray. No one dares to disturb me, but they don't know that it is not devout faith that keeps me here, but fear. I'm afraid to go outside. The duty I am not prepared to face awaits me there. A war is waiting. I've never been in a real war before, unlike my father. His armor, which has seen many battles, lies near the altar on a stone slab bearing his name. The gold buckle on his belt gleams with the symbol of Eredin stamped on it. Remember it shining much brighter in the past, this relic of our lost god. Everyone expects me to go into battle, clad in my father's armor as a true daughter of my lineage. I must not dishonor my family. I must smite my enemies with my family's motto as my battle cry. But I'm scared. What happens if I fail? If I hesitate or show fear? If I let everyone down? I'll be a disgrace, the stupid girl who ruined everything. Eredin, I miss your grace. Footsteps echo behind me. Who dares to violate my privacy? Why now, when my wretched, treacherous heart could falter any moment? A warrior stands behind me, not young or old, just an ordinary knight in a simple breastplate. He looks me straight in the eye, without impertinence, but also without adulation. You will not disgrace your father. At first I think I misheard her. The warrior's words sounded like an answer to my unspoken thoughts. How odd. Or, you will not falter. I see you standing firm, so leave your fear behind. Who is she? How does she read the worries written on my heart? How dare she do so without permission? I prepare an angry rebuke, but the words die on my lips. Only a pitiful complaint comes out instead. Eredin left us. Stupid me. Why are you squeaking like a mouse? What an embarrassment you are. You must. The warrior drops down to one knee before me, so that her eyes are level. There is strength in her calm, determined face. Yes, he left us. But that doesn't mean we're alone. I'll support you in this battle. No matter how arduous, no matter how dark the skies, no matter how much blood flows from my wounds, I shall stand with you. We shall fight for our loved ones and our friends, for the right to live and die free. We shall do everything we possibly can, and after that, we shall begin to do the impossible. If the hour should come when our arms can no longer raise our swords, our bodies will become a shield to cover those who still have strength to fight. I, Iomedae, inheritor of Eredin, swear this to you. This is my vow. Her hand rests on my father's armor, and light emanates from it. It envelops the armor and soaks into it, blinding me. My eyes fill with tears. Never thought I'd cry of happiness again. When I wipe my eyes clear, I find myself alone. The gold buckle on my father's military belt shines like the sun again. The symbol inscribed on it is different now. It now shows a knight's sword, exuding light. That is my symbol, from now until forever. Can we truly prevail? Yes, we, the Knights of Mendev, march forward in a splendid gleaming formation to the stronghold of the darned enemy. A city of Iz. Today you will fall. The horde of demons and their lackeys scurry away from us. And I smile as I lower the visor of my helmet my father once wore. I haven't disgraced you. None of us have. A shadowy female figure approaches us. Her cloak obscures her face. We all know who she is. Betrayer of humanity. Her hands dance, weaving spells. We raise our shields, preparing for her crushing blow, but we're still not ready. Giant invisible scythes begin to shred our ranks. They easily cut through flesh and steel, stir up dust, and halt our offensive, which ceases to exist. In an instant, Betrayer destroys our unit, and I see dust whirl up in front of me. Then a blow of monstrous force knocks me off my horse. Darkness envelops me, or is it death? No, I feel someone's hands. Someone helps me up. I remove my crumpled helmet. How am I still alive? I lower my eyes and see a horrible gash across my breastplate. The gold buckle with Iomede's symbol shattered, but warded off the fatal blow of the darn witch. I look around in horror. There is no army anymore. Our ranks are broken. All courage has left our soldiers. Screams ring out everywhere, but alas, many more mouths are silent. The betrayer watches us, making no attempt to finish us off. I can't see her face. I can swear there's nothing but boredom and indifference written all over it. Grabbing the shoulder of a sergeant running by, I shout in his face, "Rally the troops, those who can fight, into the front row to cover the others. We don't retreat until we've carried away the wounded." His eyes are full of wild, mad fear. He forces out an objection. "The war's lost. We are doomed. Run." I hold him firm, looking into his eyes. He's scared. I understand. Stand firm, warrior. The battle is lost, but our war has just begun. No matter how arduous, no matter how dark the skies, no matter how much blood flows from my wounds, I shall stand with you. We shall fight for our loved ones and our friends, for the right to live and die free. We shall do everything we possibly can. After that, we shall begin to do the impossible. If the hour should come when our arms can no longer raise our swords, our bodies will become a shield to cover those who still have the strength to fight. I, Galfrey, Queen of Mendev, swear this to you. This is my vow. The symbol of Iomade, when placed on the belt, emits a holy aura. All party members in a 30-foot area get a +2 bonus to caster level checks made to overcome spell resistance. The weapons become good aligned and count as if they're made of a cold iron. So that's pretty good. Who needs a belt? So he's going to give it to her. Is she actually equipping it? It should actually be equipped. I don't see it popping up. No, either way. Alright, into the tent. There's a lot of reading. I'm happy to help the cause, Commander. It's good to meet you, Commander. The Queen greets you with a stare. She dropped the pompous air with which she just announced the Fifth Crusade. The face of the ruler of Mendev appears calm and thoughtful. She's made her move, now waits her opponent's reply.
Commander, I'm satisfied with the troop review. but I do not expect they will be sufficient for the task. You will have to prove yourself a shrewd leader and hire the necessary troops with the provided funds.
He gets quickly to the point.
I have chosen a target for your campaign, and that target is Drezen, our lost outpost within the Worldwound. The Sword of Valor was kept there, a banner that was once carried by Iomade herself. Our greatest relic was lost when the city fell. I should make one thing clear from the start. The Sword of Valor is no mere symbol, but a powerful weapon against demons. The holiness of the banner weakens them and robs them of one of their most dangerous abilities, teleportation. A forced march to Drezen awaits you. The Sword of Valor is kept somewhere within the Citadel. The demons probably think it's a hunting trophy. Its recovery is just as important as retaking the city itself. I hope the task is clear. I'm sending 2 specialists to help you, along with the soldiers. A historian, Nura Denduar, and a cleric, Sosiel.
We nod to the human man, the young halfling woman standing next to her.
One of the famous inquisitors of the Church of Iomade also wants to talk to you. The Honorable Leota, whom everyone calls Hawkblade.
I really like that name.
I do not wish to keep you, Commander.
I didn't see him
the
standing
matter
there.
I must discuss with you is extremely important, but it is not directly related to the Crusade. You no doubt wish to meet your new comrades and speak with Her Majesty. Therefore, I shall leave you now, but I ask that you seek me out in the camp at your earliest convenience.
Hi! Listen, it's amazing here. It's like I'm in a ballad. There's knights in shining armor, deadly dangers, glorious feats. We are going to show those demons! I'm so tired of sitting in a library reading books about history. It's time I took part in it!
Reminds me a little bit of another bard.
I'm glad to help our cause, Commander. If you have some time later, I'd like to speak with you further.
You'll have plenty of time to talk. You're the Knight Commander's people now, his trusted advisors and companions. Now then, will you please leave us? Irabeth, you can go too.
We met at the Defender's Heart. Never imagined you'd make me the commander of the new crusade.
Some actions may be deemed bold, or even extreme, and beyond those, there are some you might call the Queen's last resort. I am not a simple monarch. I am at war with the Abyss, a war which has lasted over 100 years. I cannot allow myself the luxury of caution. In you, I see a chance, and I am willing to stake everything on it.
The Queen allows herself a smile.
However, you cannot blame me for putting you in charge of the Crusade. I only formalized what had already happened in the hearts and minds of many. People spoke of the power that descended upon you and helped you save the Wardstones from corruption and total destruction. Word of this feat quickly spread far beyond the borders of Mendev. There was no other person who could better fit the role of Knight Commander of the Fifth Crusade.
We have no idea what my commanding abilities are like. I mean, you could put me in a high position, like the Crusade's champion or something like that. Yeah, I'm powerful, but you have no idea what my leadership is like. I have some questions about my mission to retake Drezen.
Of course. I shall answer.
How did the demons manage to conquer Drezen?
That's a good question. Its walls were built by dwarf craftsmen, and the power of the Sword of Valor protected the city. Alas, where raging hordes failed, a single lying tongue was all they needed to succeed. The demoness Minago convinced a young and ambitious crusader named Staunton Vane that the banner belonged on the battlefield. He went on a daring and unapproved raid, and the banner ended up in the enemy's hands. The city fell soon after. Ever since then, for 7 decades, it has served as a citadel for the forces of the Abyss.
Staunton Vane. I saw him at the Grey Garrison. He defected to the demon's side.
Oh, really? I wasn't informed of this. After Drezen fell because of Staunton, he was nearly sentenced to death. He deserved it. In wartime, men are hanged for far less. But you have no idea what a terrible sight it is. A raging crowd of crusaders baying for blood. Never have my fighters looked so much like the demons we are fighting.
Galfrey frowns.
I commuted Staunton's sentence and stripped him of his rank. Not just for him. But for my army and my country, we are not Hell Knights. We do not maintain discipline with public executions.
It was a tough choice. I understand.
Thank you for your support. The longer you live, the more things you do, and the more criticism you endure. Today, many blame me for all manner of reasons, and few try to understand my actions. Your words warm my soul.
What forces are at my disposal?
Everyone we saw today at the parade. First among them, the Eagle Watch, who remain a powerful force thanks to Irabeth's resourcefulness. Also marching with you are several minor knightly orders, as the minor volunteer units like to be called. And finally, I have personally selected some recruits from Nerosian. They have little in the way of battle experience, but great determination and a thirst to prove themselves. I've always thought that an army benefits from at least one such unit. These forces, as I said, are not enough for a march on Drezen. You will have to hire additional troops with the funds that have been provided to you. But for a brave commander, and I hope you are one, that is just the beginning. If you retake Drezen, recover the holy power of the Sword of Valor, and gain a foothold in the region, then new armies will join under your banner. The Fifth Crusade is only beginning. Many battles and victories lie ahead.
It's been decades. No one's managed to retake the city. Why do you think we're different?
We have a chance now that we haven't seen in decades. But it's more than that. You created this chance for us by foiling the demon's plans in Canabris. The army who attacked the city came straight from Drezen. Demon hordes from the Abyss are usually encamped there, but many of them perished on the streets of Canabris. We must attack swiftly before they can restore their forces. When the city is free and the Sword of Valor appears before our soldiers, they won't be sending in any more reinforcements. Demons cannot teleport into an area protected by the banner of the goddess.
What about long-term goals? You know how to get rid of the Worldwound forever.
Now you are talking like a real knight commander. However, answering your question is not easy. To win this war, we must bar the demon's way. There are a few planar rifts leading to the Abyss across the territory we call the Worldwound. The best specialists we could find have tried to close them on separate occasions, with no success, as you may have guessed.
The Queen nods in approval, then frowns.
The Worldwound is more than just a chain of portals to the Abyss. We do not understand its nature yet. The methods of rift closure known to magical science simply do not work here. However, we have a hypothesis, and a rather well-grounded one, that we must begin at the source of the problem, the place where the Worldwound was opened. The main rift lies through the city of Iz and the Threshold Fortress, deep in the former lands of Socorus. We have never managed to fight our way so far and gain a foothold to allow the mages to explore the origins of the Worldwound. So, the next step, after you succeed in Drezen, is an offensive push deeper into the Worldwound, with the aim of reaching Threshold, the very threshold of the Abyss.
Alright, I have no more questions.
Wonderful.
Did you know that the souls of angels from heaven are confined in the Wardstone?
I had guessed as much. Many angels fought alongside us in the First Crusade. Heaven was unable to mobilize its full might to aid us, but individual celestials volunteered to fight for our cause. Then one day, they all vanished, saying that they were setting off on an important mission. Not long after, Iomede's herald erected the first Wardstone in Canobris, and then the others in cities across Mendev. Even back then, I had nagging doubts, but my faith in Iomede easily assuaged them. It is for us to serve the goddess after all, not to question her works.
A furrow forms in the Queen's brow.
Nevertheless, I am pleased that you solved the mystery of the Wardstone in Canobris, and were able to save this gift of Iomede. It was a deed worthy of a knight commander of the Fifth Crusade.
Queen subtly inclines her head in solemn acknowledgement of your service. You should know I received an unusual gift in the caves beneath Canabris. In a vision, I saw the death of an angel called Lario. Somehow, he was able to grant me the ability to reveal the light of heaven.
Lariel. I knew him. He disappeared shortly before the Worldwound grew, and Drezen fell into the enemy's hands. In the chaos, We had more important concerns than investigating the fate of a single angel, even one so righteous and beloved as Lariel. And afterward, matters took a turn for the worse. The angels left us to go on their special mission. It is so strange to hear the names I used to hear when I was young, like getting a message from the past. It is sad news, but it brings me back to the times when we strongly believed in our victory, and we rushed headlong toward it without fear. Could it be that such times have come again?
A smile, kind and sad, crosses the Queen's face. Show the Covenant of the Inheritor. You remember this.
Get this. I thought this relic was destroyed many years ago. How strange it is to see it whole again. At one time, it gave me hope. I am pleased that this object will serve the Crusade once more.
The Queen's eyebrows shoot up in surprise. Queen Galfrey's hand twitches, as if trying to reach for the relic of its own accord, but the Queen stills its movement. I had a vision of Iomedae giving her covenant to you.
I was young, and did not fully understand the magnitude of the duty that had been entrusted to me. Iomedae gave me hope and strength to see me through the trials ahead, and in so doing, she won my everlasting loyalty.
Queen's lips flattened to a hard line. You still remember the oath you swore in battle?
Always. No matter how arduous, no matter how dark the skies, no matter how much blood flows from my wounds, I shall stand with you. We shall fight for our loved ones and our friends, for the right to live and die free. We shall do everything we possibly can, and after that, we shall begin to do the impossible. And if the hour should come when our arms can no longer raise our swords, our bodies will become a shield to cover those who still have strength to fight. I, Galfrey, Queen of Mendev, swear this to you. This is my vow.
The Queen's gaze grows distant. You withstood a blow from Arilo of Vorlesh in that battle.
I would proudly declare that to be true, and say that even Arilo Vorlesh could not kill me on her first attempt. But to do so would be boasting. I was protected by my goddess. However, I was glad to see that, no matter how great the betrayer of humanity's power, it is nothing as compared to Iomedae's might.
Should I give it back to her? I mean, it seems pretty good. I mean, it's just a free aura. But once we get... Oh, what level is it? The Paladin gets the Aura of Righteousness, which gives the same good effect that the Covenant gives. But the caster level bonus is also really good. For story's sake, I hand over the Covenant of the Inheritor. Please take this gift. The Covenant of the Inheritor should belong to you.
Let the Covenant's restoration into my hands be a good omen for this war. I thank you. I shall ask the priests to offer prayers for you, that Iomedae may send you strength and fortitude in the coming battles.
Inclining her head, the Queen reverently takes the relic from your hands. And what are you going to do?
Overlooking a spot of insubordination just at the moment. However, I shall answer you. I shall prepare the defenses at Nerosian and all the other border cities and plan the future of the Fifth Crusade. Does that satisfy your curiosity, Knight Commander?
Galfrey arches her brow. My Queen, I'd like you to remain with us. The Drezen campaign is the hope of the Crusade. The blessing of Iomedae that you carry may be decisive in this battle.
What is this I hear? A polite attempt to appeal to the conscience of an old sovereign?
The Queen flashes something of a slightly astonished smile.
I don't know if you realize what you're suggesting. If our enemies in the depths of the wound were to discover that I was with your army, they would immediately send their most vicious demons to attack. They would stop at nothing to be rid of me, and thereby sow chaos across Mendev. But you are right. I shouldn't be sitting it out in the rear. I am a warrior queen and a queen of warriors. Yet my fighters have forgotten what I look like. Fine. I shall join the crusade, but on my own terms. First, I shall assemble my entourage and lead the parade out of the camp. I shall catch up with you later, along with a few hand-picked bodyguards. We'll change our armor, and I'll become a knight of a minor order and join the troops incognito. Until we approach Drezen, no one should know I am among you. But before we storm the city, I shall show myself to the troops and join the battle. Let it be a surprise for the demons. I hope you won't complain of my company on the road, Commander, since you were the one who insisted upon it. Do you have any other questions?
Galfrey chuckles. The task is clear.
Splendid. Ah, yes. We have one final matter to attend to. It should be rather enjoyable.
The Queen gives you an impish wink.
Count, there you are. You received my instruction?
I did, though I did not have time to read the thing before I was dragged before your majesty. In truth, I was readying myself to depart.
No matter. I trust you will forgive your sovereign for the rather brusque summons, especially when you learn what prompted it. As you are aware, he has recently been appointed my Knight Commander of the Fifth Crusade. I spent a long while pondering whom to appoint to the highly sensitive post of Commander's Field Attaché and Advisor Plenipotentiary without portfolio. Congratulations, Count.
The Queen makes a stately gesture in your direction.
It is a great honor, I suppose.
Daeran's cool expression wavers. Seems not to be fully cognizant of what is happening. That, where he's holding himself tightly in check. Yeah, what a wonderful gesture, Your Majesty. I imagine our dear Count would have been inconsolable if you hadn't given him a chance, or this chance to serve the common cause.
I knew you would approve, Commander.
Queen bestows a smile on you, that brings her gaze to rest on Daeran once more.
I had my doubts about whether you were ready for such a responsibility, Count, but your conduct in Kenobris has put my mind at ease. So, you will travel with the troops to Drezen. Only the commander may remove you from your post. But I trust that you will dutifully fulfill his orders and make a good showing of yourself. Especially since word of your appointment, Count, will reach the court at any moment. All of Mendev's nobility will be following your successes in service to the nation, including all of your devoted admirers. I even heard that one bard with whom you are particularly friendly has already begun composing a ballad to honor your heroic participation in the crusade and your faithful service to the commander here.
Your largesse truly knows no bounds, dear cousin. I am most gratified by the honor you have shown me.
Count offers a bow, either as a sign of respect or in order to hide his flushed face. Only the barest quaver can be heard in his voice.
Then let's get going. May Iyomade help us.
Nevia sweeps an inquisitive glance over you. So tell me straight, how'd that brawl at the Great Garrison end? I heard the rumors, of course. That's kind of my job, you know, to listen. You've no idea what cobblers or crusaders say about you. Some say that Amade came to you and appointed you her herald. Others say that you died, and an honest-to-God's angel is now leading the army disguised as you. The others say it was just an explosion at an alchemist's lab, and I'm the one spreading rumors about your powers. I wish. But you know, you really have changed since the Great Garrison. It's hard to describe. You become kind of... Nevia waves her hand, trying to find the word. More charismatic. More dangerous. I have a gut instinct about these things. If I didn't, I'd already be dead. You're dangerous, Commander. And by Desna, hope you'll be dangerous to our enemies, and not to us. Or to yourself. Alright, now let's go talk to all of our companions. And knock all this out in one fell swoop. Commander, allow me to say something. Irabeth looks even more serious than usual. Before you, this wasn't a war. It was agony drawn out over decades. No one believed in victory anymore. When the demons attacked the city, for some it was a relief. At last the end had come. They laid down their weapons and surrendered without a fight. I felt the same thing. I somehow got through on stubbornness and the vague hope that if nobody found Nevia's body, you might by some miracle have survived. And that miracle was you. You returned my beloved to me when I nearly lost all hope of seeing her alive again. Then you went on a suicide mission to the Grey Garrison and won the city back for us. You turned a defeat into a victory. I know it wasn't easy. You make everything seem so effortless. You do everything just like that, she says with a snap of her fingers. The Queen believes in your powers too. But for me, there's just more proof of what I felt that day when I saw Nevia alive standing next to you. You're the miracle we've been waiting for. You're the one who will finally put an end to this terrible war, and in spite of everything, deliver us the victory we so desperately need. With you, I'm sure this crusade will achieve what others could not. I found a scabbard with your family name on it in the Grey Garrison. Irabeth looks down. The scabbard held the solemn hour, my family's sword. My father once fought with it, and I took it when I left home to become a paladin. Alas, it was not stolen. I parted with my heirloom willingly, to help someone dear to me. And if I needed expensive healing, and having no other way to procure the money, I pawned my father's sword. I think he would have understood. I'm sure he would have given up everything to help the family. I hope to redeem the solemn hour eventually, but there was never enough money, and soon the sword disappeared from the pawn shop altogether. I have no idea who took it. Seems like I'll have to part with my father's sword forever. Is Nevia sick? You'll forgive me if I don't go into detail. It is a private matter. Suffice to say, everything is fine now. Treatment was costly, but it was worth it. And see that you truly love her. A delicate blush appears on Irabeth's cheeks. He nods silently. Irabeth lovingly traces the name imprinted in silver on the scabbard's leather. My parents were loyal servants, yet it wasn't enough to earn them a title or a coat of arms. Still, however humble our name might be, it is worth something. I don't know if I'll ever see the solemn hour again. At least I have its scabbard back. Thank you. So it turns out the Queen has her head of counterintelligence watching me. I wonder why. You think the Queen doesn't trust you? If that were true, she wouldn't have put you in charge of this army. My main task is to be your advisor, till you've gained enough experience as a commander. As for counterintelligence, Nevia and I were tasked with keeping an eye on your inner circle. But you're not under suspicion, Commander. You're under our protection. We need reinforcements. Can you get us more soldiers? Irabeth frowns. When we began the march to Drezen, we chose speed over numbers. If I order more volunteers to be recruited, they simply won't arrive on time. We could pay mages to deliver the troops to the camp, except I doubt that our army's coffers could afford it. We need spare 7,500 gold coins. I will see to our reinforcements. Pay 7,500 gold coins. You have your orders. Consider it done. It's hard to believe your origins is so humble. You deserve a noble title, more than many who inherit them. Irabeth's cheeks blush a little. Thank you, Commander. It is an honor to hear that, especially from you. Every noble family begins somewhere. You must have heard the recent story from the stolen lands of the River Kingdoms. Just imagine, coming from nowhere and making it all the way to a royal crown in just a few years. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I managed to distinguish myself somehow. But then I push away such unworthy, selfish thoughts, of course. We don't fight for rewards. The fate of the world is at stake. And yet... Irabeth's blush deepens as she falls silent. I have to go. Irabeth says goodbye with a short bow.
That is not far.
Ember is bobbing her head and humming a tune. She greets you with a carefree, cheerful smile. Wandering eyes linger on you for just a moment before darting off again into the distance. How are you handling your new abilities? Abilities? The girl tilts her head to her shoulder. What are you talking about? Oh, the tricks you learned when the big gray house blew up. They're funny. Thanks for teaching them to me. The Queen gave me the title of Knight Commander and put me in charge of an army. What do you think about that? The elf focuses her wandering gaze on your eyes, smiles and shakes her head. Don't believe titles. All of us in the world are children of the street. Barefoot, hungry, scared. A step away from death. Some imagine they're strong and rich, like gods. But don't forget who you really are, behind the title. Let's go talk to Nenio. Ah boy, there you are. Very good, just in time. You'd be delighted to know that I need you for an experiment. So the great garrison stands roofless. Demons are running for the hills with their tails between their legs. Mendev's queen, what's her name? On the tip of my... Ah yes, Galfrey. Is scurrying to and fro. And all this is somehow connected to you, my loyal follower. Thus far, there is no scientific evidence of your exceptionality, if one discounts blind faith and divine intervention, which I do. We, people of science, refuse to believe in the inexplicable without any proof. We're the ones who explain the inexplicable. Enyo punctuates her statement with an energetic sweep of her arm. And therefore, open your mouth and say, ah for me. Why? Isn't it obvious? I'm going to study you. Come along. Don't stand in the way of science. What does my mouth have to do with my new abilities? Perhaps there is no connection, or perhaps there is a direct connection. We'll never know unless we try to find out. Open your mouth. Ah. Enyo peers into your mouth with a practiced eye. Alright, your throat's fine, tongue looks perfectly normal, your breath, she sniffs. The smell is in line with the regular functioning of the digestive system. Now for your teeth. She sticks one hand in your mouth and probes each of your teeth in turn, with the skill of a seasoned dentist. No detectable alterations. By the way, did you know that many individuals, while being wholly civilized representatives of their races, also have an amazingly powerful bite? As if suddenly recalling something, Enyo promptly pulls her hand out of your mouth. Are you really trying to find a correlation between fang length and civility? Enyo seems slightly embarrassed. For the good of science, I look for correlations everywhere and in everything. How can you prove there's no correlation if you don't bother to look for one? With teeth like mine, I should know. Enyo casts a puzzled glance at you, but quickly nods. Ah yes, you're a dampier. Good research has shown that a dampier's bite will turn an individual neither into a vampire nor into another dampier. Unfortunately, the average bumbler in the street prefers to believe idle speculation rather than scientific fact. Moving on. Alright, what do we have next? Ears. Let's check your hearing. Testing. Enyo yells right into your ear and nods in satisfaction as she observes your reaction. Your hearing is fine. Was fine. But don't worry. It's scientifically proven that it should return to normal soon. Next. Enyo circles you. Ears are clear. Posture is satisfactory. Limb length is standard. No lice. She stops, rubs her chin in contemplation, and in a slightly dejected tone says, Boy, you're the picture of health. It's a pity. I was expecting to find some anomaly. Well, now let's assess your mental state. Imagine a hypothetical situation. You are a tree. Two squirrels have found their way into your hollow, and are now copulating there. What do you do? Let them copulate. Why should I care? An unconscious act of good, allowing two lesser creatures to procreate while protecting them during this crucially important process. On to the next question. Another hypothetical situation. You are a tomato. You have just been picked from the vegetable patch and put into a crate. You know that today the cook will use half of the tomatoes from your crate to make soup. What do you do? What is this nonsense? This nonsense, as you call it, is a unique methodology for detecting secret tendencies hidden in one's subconsciousness. It was developed by the greatest scientist of modern times. Now focus on the task at hand, if you please. There's nothing I can do. I'm a tomato, remember? An unconscious act of withdrawal. Inability or unwillingness to see something bigger behind something small. Alright, I understand. Your angelic mercy speaks for itself. Your behavioral pattern definitely shows an inclination toward angels. On that note, I deem this experiment complete. Thank you for your participation. Then he looks at you pensively, and then gestures at you with a wide sweep of her arm. And yet you remain a puzzle to me. I love puzzles. One of these days I will solve you completely, unless I forget. Now I have time to answer your questions. Come on, ask away. Alright, we're done there. Go talk to Lann. What brings you here? What do you think of what happened in the Great Garrison? Did you feel a change in yourself? It's hard not to notice when the demons started running away from you, like a flock of frightened bats. Powers granted by Omade to defeat demons. Lann raises his hand above his head, and pensively scratches behind his single horn. Since I was a kid, I've taken whatever I've been given and used it as best I can. Anything goes when you're trying to survive. It doesn't matter where your blessings come from. We can think about that when we're old. We live that long. But you know, this time I'm not so sure. A divine power that just appears out of nowhere. Sooner or later we'll have to pay for it. I'd like to know what the price will be. I like that. I like that response. Alright, Camellia. Speak to you.
I'll go ahead.
Greetings. The neat smile on Camelia's lip disappears so quickly, you must wonder if you imagined it. So you're Horgus' daughter. You've discovered my most terrible secret. Father cares so much about the worm name that he raised me in our mansion, hiding me away from the whole world. I'll always be grateful to my father for everything he's done for me, even if Mendev society disapproves of some of his decisions. Would it be insolent of me to beg your discretion regarding what you know about us? Camelia's words are polite, but her tone grows cold and sharp. Let us keep this as our little secret. I assure you, my father and I appreciate loyalty and decency. For both myself and my father, I thank you for your understanding. What do you think of the powers you received from me? Camellia shrugs nonchalantly. People of noble descent grow accustomed to ample opportunity. The powers I received from you are useful, but I see no point in treating them with excessive piety.
I need to concentrate. Becoming distracted leads to becoming
Finally, a serious dramatic
dismembered.
piece in our hands. Soundmaster is the most underrated profession. That's what I say. Horgus Squirm has been expecting you. Thumb stuck in his belt. There you are. I've been waiting. As you see, I too have joined the Crusade. I don't know how to swing this sword. The war is costly, and I have money. Besides, my intellect and business sense may prove useful, even on the battlefield. Besides, I believe... Horgus shifts awkwardly from foot to foot. I believe I owe you an apology. The way I behaved was rude, ill-mannered. You're an honest and honorable person. You've clawed your way up from the bottom of society to the title of Knight Commander. You're friends with Queen Galfrey herself. Such persistence deserves respect. Horgus tilts his head in a brief acknowledgement of your merits. Please allow me to give you this magic amulet from my humble personal treasury to mark our future cooperation. I repeat it if you ask, but you know it all already. I only repeat it out of respect for you. Prefer to recall the story as infrequently as possible. Alright, so we've already read all that. That's just recapping his false history. Now, what's it like to live your entire life under someone else's name? When I was a boy, I used to hate Horgus. Yeah, we've already read all this as well. Okay, forgot what the question was. It was like, aren't you concerned I'm going to reveal your secret to everybody? Are you threatening me? I invested a lot of money in your crusade. I'll invest even more. Do you think to humiliate me in front of everyone? That's not going to work. If a scandal breaks out, it'll be your word against mine. I've been known as Horgus Squirm for several decades. I own a vast estate outside Canabras, and a share of the local quarry. I'll defend my good name to the end. Your claims will seem like vile slander. I'll see to that. Horgus' face becomes blotchy, and eyes nearly pop out of their sockets. He calms himself with visible effort. However, I do hope it won't come to any of that. We're all here for a common cause, victory over the demons, and I intend to see this business through. Now, why have you decided to support the Crusades now? With all due respect, that's none of your business. I have my reasons. Perhaps I felt a rush of patriotism when Canabras was destroyed. Anyway, why would you think I never supported the Crusaders? Perhaps I simply don't like to brag about my donations. Ostentatious charity only attracts beggars. I'd wager that Irabeth has no idea whose money she's spending on drinks and supplies. Why did you hide the fact that Camellia is your daughter? Can I tell you this at the mansion? It's because her mother Iris was a lowly half-elf who looked after my garden. I always wanted to join the Worm name with another noble family. Alright, so we've already read the rest of this. Yeah, I've already read that. How did Camelia's mother die? Horgus pierces you with a long, heavy stare. I'm not going to tell you about that. The things ought to remain private. What can you tell me about the Count Daeran Arendelle? The nobles of Canobris should be acquainted with each other, shouldn't they? He's a brilliant young man with a brilliant pedigree. And that story of his, the nobility is the glue that keeps our society together. I suppose that is why demons so often choose their estates as primary targets. Who knows the demons' bloody massacres? They only slaughtered poor country folk. The Arendelle family shared the tragic plight of the Gworms. Along with many other members of the nobility, they fell victim to a treacherous attack during the major celebration taking place at their family estate. I hadn't received an invitation, but was slightly insulted by the snub. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise. The god saved me from a terrible fate. All the guests died that day from a magical demonic disease. I sympathize with the Count deeply. He has endured so much, and it's no wonder he keeps himself aloof from me. I think this is due to the fact that Horgus Worm's fate so resembles his own, and we both have to relive those horrible memories whenever we see each other. I have to go. Darn it, you again, soldier. Woljif gives you a friendly wave. Hey, Chief, want to talk? What do you think of my new powers? Woljif pauses to think, rubbing his chin. You mean what you did back there? I have a few ideas. We could send you to Patak's underground arena to fight. A Patak's underground arena. Give you a scary name like Swift Sting, or something like that. Give you a great cover story. Enemies burn down your house, you're avenging your dead family, the public eats that stuff up. You wear a shiny, eye-catching outfit. Or a black one, if you like black better. We'll split the prize money 60-40. 60 for me, of course. You know, arranging fights isn't easy. Those people are tough. I'll be taking more risk than you. After we get set up in Patak's, we'll tour different cities. Make some real money. What? You don't like the sound of it? Do you have any other suggestions? Woljif grins, his yellow eyes lighting up. I got one more. Have you heard of Razmirin? It's some land in the River Kingdoms ruled by a King Razmir. A friend of mine used to live in Razmiron. He got out of there as fast as he could. Long story short, this King Razmir of theirs is a god. He keeps his people under his heel, all terrified of what he might do. He sits on his throne, wearing some white mask, giving power to anyone. Come and take power from me, he says, as long as you believe in me. Woljif quickly checks that no one is eavesdropping. But that friend of mine, the one who fled, is a half-sister on his old man's side, who's a cook in the castle, and a washwoman who the cook plays cards with in the evenings, told her a juicy rumor. A word is, Razmir isn't a real god at all. He's got no powers. So here's my point. You do have powers. Pretty scary ones too. Find some shabby little kingdom. I'll start some rumors. You show off a few tricks to wow the locals, and that's it. We'll make you a deity. But first I want to put it in writing that I'll be your chief advisor. I'm not doing anything just on the nod. I've been there. People promise you mountains of gold, and when it comes to it, they're all, get lost, or I'll set the dogs on you. So, do you like the idea? It's an interesting idea, but I need to think about it. Sure thing. Think about it. Just call me if you need me. We'll discuss it. I feel like he has more items, but I don't see... Oh, here we go. So Sling Staff. Whenever the wielder of this +2 Sling Staff lands a hit with it, the enemy must pass a reflex saving throw or suffer a random penalty of -1 to will, reflex, or fortitude saving throws until the end of combat. This effect stacks. I was looking to see if he had a bag of holding. The bearded quartermaster gives you a friendly nod. What can I do for you? I saw you talking to the girl hiding her face. Who was she, and what did she want? I don't know, Commander. She never introduced herself. I bet she's not part of our army. I know all our soldiers by name and by sight. Forster frowns gloomily, his cordiality gone in an instant. He was looking for some elf volunteer. Want to know which tent he was sleeping in. At first I thought she was a messenger from Mendev. She definitely wasn't one of us. But now I see how it looks almighty shifty. The quartermaster eyes you with concern. He was some sort of spy then. Alright, so double jeopardy. Whenever the wielder of this +2 Great Club lands a hit against a new target with it for the first time, the additional successful attack against the same target deals additional 2 to 6 damage. Painful Remorse. Whenever the wielder of this +2 spiked heavy shield uses it for a shield bash, it behaves like a vicious weapon, dealing an extra 2 to 6 points of damage to the opponent and 1 to 6 points of damage to the wielder. Flowing Scales. This +2 scale mail gives the attacks against its wearer a 10% chance of miss due to concealment. I think this is a really good piece of armor. We'll probably get that for Camellia. I swore he had more unique... equipment. Maybe I'm mistaken. Oh, Blade of Order. Whenever the wielder of this +2 scimitar lands a hit with it on a chaotic evil creature, it applies a -1 penalty to that creature's damage rolls until the end of combat. This penalty stacks up to 5. Or -5. And Ruse. Whenever the wielder of this +2 dart confirms a critical hit with it, the enemy becomes flat-footed for 1 round. Racking Point. Whenever this +2 Radiant Long Spear confirms a 26,000. When this +2 Radiant Long Spear confirms a critical hit, it pierces the enemy. For 1 to 4 rounds, all subsequent hits against that target deal 1 to 3 positive energy damage. So I will be getting that for my Cavalier. The Black Dragon's Fang. Whenever this +3 corrosive longsword lands a hit on an enemy, it deals additional 2 to 6 corrosive damage to all enemies in a 30-foot area. After this ability has been activated, it can't be activated again for 1 to 4 rounds. Ceremonial Falcata. This +2 Falcata grants its wearer +5 morale bonus on all persuasion checks. Whenever the wielder uses Dazzling Display, all affected enemies suffer 1 to 8 sonic damage. I could see making a build... not being completely around this, it's only a +2, but... My Rock of Nature. This +2 breastplate grants the wearer +2 insight bonus to armor class against attacks made with the natural weapons. Dawn of Life. This +3 tower shield weighs twice as much as a usual tower shield, and limits its wielder speed to 20 feet. Whenever the wielder receives a critical hit, they are healed for the amount of HP equal to the number of their hit dice. Wide Sweep. Whenever this +2 scythe lands a hit, it deals its weapon damage to all adjacent enemies. That's stupid. Jinx. Now this +2 Iron Falchion. However you want to say it, lands a hit on a creature that is under any hex effect, deals additional weapon damage. Bug Crusher. Where this +1 Bardish lands a hit on a medium or smaller creature, the target must pass a Fortitude saving throw or suffer additional weapon damage. Relentless Assault. When the wielder of this +3 Dwarven War Axe is wielding a second weapon in another hand, whenever they confirm a critical hit with it, they also make an additional attack with the second weapon. Nimble Edge. Whenever this +1 Speed as stock confirms a critical hit on an enemy, the wielder gets a +2 morale bonus to dexterity, and each attack they make deals additional 1 to 4 piercing damage for 2 to 3 rounds. Pretty good. Especially since an S-Stock has 18 to 20 critical hit. Bracers of Rough Landing. These bracers grant the wearer a +2 competence bonus onto armor class, attack, and damage rolls against flying enemies. Amulet of Jousting. Where the wearer of this amulet declares a knight's challenge, he gains a +3 damage bonus against the challenged enemy. That's also really good. For my Cavalier. In fact, I'm going to grab that now. Along with that spear. No, I can't afford the spear yet. I'm going to get this armor for Camellia instead. And now we're broke. We can give her this for that concealment chance. She loses some armor class, but the 10% concealment I think is worth it. What else did I buy? Already forgot. Oh, this amulet. Oh, that's right. I got the amulet of Blackened Mirror. Whenever the wearer of this amulet uses a hex, the DC of the saving throw against it is increased by 1. We'll give that to him. Alright. We still have a lot of people to talk to.
I know the way.
Oh, there's Leoder. Commander. A tall man with piercing yellow-green eyes gives you a brief nod. Let me personally congratulate you on your new title, and thank you for your time in advance. I'm Leoder Hawkblade, Inquisitor of the Church of Iomedae, the Bringer of Light. I require your assistance on a certain delicate matter involving one of your companions, young Count Daeran Arendae. Are you one of Prelate Helrun's followers? Leoder's face freezes for a moment, but he nods. Yes, of course. What is your opinion on his atrocities? Leoder is silent for a while. Usually people reveal such things about themselves only to their confessor, not to some curious stranger. Still, I did ask for your help, and that imposes certain obligations upon me. Let me put it like this. I spent enough years by Prelate Helrun's side to learn how to keep him from going over the line. The Prelate is an extraordinary man, but he has fallen prey to his own paranoia, a monumental sense of responsibility, which has gradually eroded his razor-sharp mind. He has witnessed so many hideous darkness that he now sees it in every shadow. Yet his strength was, and still is, a shield for all the people of Mendev. It is my opinion, his comrades and advisors are necessary to prevent him from making unforgivable mistakes. And what brings you here? I ask you to assist the Church of Iomedae in an investigation of the utmost importance. I understand that the leader of the Crusade has plenty of other matters to attend to, but please allow me to tell you the details. Perhaps it will explain why I'm calling upon you. The Inquisitor's open face instantly reveals his feelings. He frowns and looks through you, lost in his thoughts for a moment. I suppose that you've already heard about Count Arendae's story. I refer to the tragedy at the Heaven's Edge estate. Tell me what happened at Heaven's Edge. About 10 years ago, several powerful demons managed to penetrate the Wardstone barrier and commit mass murder of all the guests who attended the feast in celebration of young Daeran's birthday. The unknown magical disease they had brought wiped out the whole estate in less than a day. That was not a unique case in itself. The demons had attempted such raids on Mendevian lands before, but they never dared target such a well-protected place. The Arendae family was exceptionally rich. The estate was protected by elite bodyguards. There were several strong and righteous paladins among the guests. Moreover, the revered Nestrin, Daeran's tutor, was one of the most powerful priests of Iomedae in the vicinity. All of them died, nonetheless, except for the young Count, who had suddenly manifested his outstanding sacred healing powers. Was that a divine miracle or a curse? That remains to be seen. You're going to investigate this old case again, aren't you? Yes, I am. I have several reasons to doubt the widely shared account of what exactly happened at the estate, and how it happened. You see, Commander, I was among those sent to examine the estate after the incident. I saw everything with my own eyes, and I still remember it clearly, even though it feels like it happened a lifetime ago. Heaven's Edge was a unique place that still carried the spirit of old Mendev before the Worldwound. Yet on that day it turned into a labyrinthine house of horrors, like something only seen in our nightmares. Apologies for the digression. I wanted to tell you about my suspicions. Everything about the incident seemed odd. I was the only person left alive, a young boy with newfound talent for divine magic. Why did nobody send to Canabras for help, even though the agony spanned many hours? We found the demons dead, with their heads cut off, when we got into the estate. How were they defeated? How did the disease kill even the paladins present at the estate, who were said to be immune to any disease? The demons had found a way to penetrate the Holy Warrior's defenses. Why has this never been repeated since the tragedy at Heaven's Gate? You're the only person who can help me here, Commander, because the only living witness of those events is currently serving in your army. Your army's route will take you near the very site of the tragedy. Heaven's Edge has been abandoned and sealed with potent magic throughout all these years. Only the Count has the power to break that seal. He is unlikely to invite an Inquisitor inside, and in any case, he won't like me sniffing around his family's seat. But if you, as his commander, express your wish to visit the estate, you'll be obliged to fulfill it, and I'll simply follow you as one of your attendants. Oh boy. There are hundreds of ways, 1,000 paths, and myriad loopholes in human lives that the forces of evil can use to their advantage. I'm not sure which one of those led the demons to the gates of Heaven's Edge. But I do know it wasn't a simple raid, the kind Crusaders face every day. The incident involved a significantly more powerful entity. That is why I'm asking for your help. We cannot be sure such a tragedy will not happen again if we uncover the truth. You've already been to the estate several times. What do you expect to find now? I was young and inexperienced inquisitor when I first visited Heaven's Edge 10 years ago. My skills have improved significantly since then, and I have paid dearly for that. The Theodore makes a vague gesture pointing at his scars. My arsenal includes many spells and techniques dedicated to gathering information about people and events. Almost all of them require me to be physically present in the place where the event in question happened. That's why I must return to Heaven's Edge. And why can't you just search the estate yourself, without involving me? The estate is abandoned and sealed with powerful containment enchantments that only the Count himself can lift. This is not the main reason, however. The main reason is that Count Arendae is not officially under investigation by the Inquisition. I couldn't just break into his house, even if I found a way to bypass the spells. It's a serious matter. Theodore frowns. A matter that threatens the reputation of the entire Church of Iomedae, my own organization in particular. We made more than enough unforgivable mistakes during the Third Crusade, and are still dealing with the consequences. Your presence would give my investigation the necessary legitimacy, Commander. But there is more. In addition to getting official permission, I'd like to also bring an independent third-party investigator to this case. Someone independent, well-respected. You fit this role perfectly. Did you question Daeran himself? I did, but the Count insisted he couldn't remember anything about the incident due to severe shock. He saw the demons at the very beginning when they appeared at the celebration to announce the onset of the plague and mock their victims. He also witnessed the death of his mother, Countess Selena. That was all he would tell me. Theodore pauses. We found the young Count sleeping like a log on the floor in one of the rear chambers, having drunk about half the family wine cellar all by himself. There was no reason to disbelieve him on that matter. So you suspect that Daeran is hiding something, that he is to blame for the tragedy. I deliberately refuse to entertain any theories or suspicions, so that it doesn't affect the investigation. There's a saying among my colleagues that suspicion is the mother of prejudice, and prejudice is married to failure. I can only tell you that Count Arendae wasn't suffering from demonic possession, the most common malaise in our country at the time. Father Horn himself examined the boy right after the tragedy. He didn't sense anything awry with him. Fine, I will help you. What do you need me to do? Theodore bows his head to you with exceptional reverence. Thank you, Commander. I ask you to speak to the Count. Tell him that you wish to see at Heaven's Edge. Please do not inform him of any presence right away, or my presence right away. I'll join your escort when it is time to travel to the estate. When we get there, I'll also require your help during the investigation. You'll have to follow me, reserving my actions as an independent witness. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask me. I'll remain here for a while. I'd like to discuss your investigation in the events at Heaven's Edge again. I have no more questions. Tell me about yourself, Inquisitor. I want to know who I'm dealing with. I am Ofen by birth, but I have lived in Mendev for most of my life, dedicating myself to the service of the Inheritor. My warrior brethren mostly worship Gorum, but I've never been eager to fight for the sake of battle alone. I was a good fighter in my early youth, and could easily best my peers. I didn't enjoy showing off my skills. Victory is a plan on its own. Purpose adds flavor to war. I can't say that I have always been a faithful sword of Iomedae. Back in my mercenary days, they brought me to the borders of Mendev, where I spent quite a long time among the Crusaders. Fighting shoulder to shoulder with my righteous comrades in arms, and watching demons commit their atrocities, eventually led me to something I had been seeking my whole life. Purpose and faith. That's how I found my calling, even though it may be hard at times. I never regretted my decision. I have to go. Oh man, it's a lot of reading. How long has this episode been going on? 2 hours or so? Alright. My commander, how can I help? As much I can do, just ask. Nura looks at you with eyes filled with enthusiasm. He's holding a notebook and a traveler's inkwell. You've probably heard about the wound I have, the one that sometimes opens on my chest. Perhaps tell me if it is some kind of demonic curse. Yes, indeed. I've been told of your affliction. Nura appears at the center of your chest. Can you will the wound to open? No? That's a shame. What can you tell me about this wound? Well, it's difficult to say. I know of blades that leave never-healing cuts, of poisons that stop wounds from healing. I've heard of witches' curses that are rewarded with eternal wounds. Wounds that seem to reopen and heal over time, or heal over and over. Perhaps you know of other cases like this. Let's think. In 4671, Medevian army corporal had all his bones and cartilage turned to glass. In 4700, Scribe in Canabras had all her skin simply come away like she's been boiled. And in 4638, oh, you don't happen to have insects crawling all over you. Locusts? No? Rats, perhaps? Too bad. Nura looks at you with a genuine regret. Do you think it's dangerous? It most likely is dangerous, but you're under the protection of Iomedae, Commander. She granted you mythic power, as they say. Surely the Inheritor would not leave you to face this alone. Have you perhaps noticed that the wound opens at moments when you waver in your faith? Perhaps it is triggered by doubt. Frowning, Nura looks at you with sincere concern. Thank you for your answers. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you anything useful. I will be sure to study this matter and consult a few of my encyclopedias. Tell me about yourself. Oh my, I could tell you so many amazing things. You choose the most boring one of all. But alright, about myself then. Where are you from? Isgur, a small piece of land that proudly calls itself a country, though it hasn't been independent for a single day in all the centuries it's existed. They have a lot of national pride, but all of it is borrowed. Always looking to the great day when they can at last be free from the rule of Cheliax. The Isgari love politics. If two of them start bargaining over beats at the market, you can be sure they'll end up arguing about whether an independent Isgur will be a monarchy or a republic. I always found it funny to listen to, and a little disgusting. You see, there are a lot of us halflings in the country, but very few are citizens. Most are slaves. I was lucky. I have always been clever, ever since I was little. They sent me to school instead of making me do the grunt work. They taught me to count and write. I was sold as a secretary to Lord Axelar Tresbot. He's the one I left Esger with, never to return, I hope. How did you come to serve Queen Galfrey? I was a slave of Lord Axelar Tresbot in Isgur, my homeland. Oh, what a man he was. He towered over his fellows like a rock over a garbage heap. A true hero. He bought me as a simple secretary, but he made me learn the history of the Worldwound. All of it. One volume after another. He hired tutors for me. He even sent me to meet the prominent historians. He didn't want a simple slave, but a slave with an impeccable education. Lord Tresbot was going on a crusade. He firmly believed that the servants of the good gods are weak. Only a follower of Asmodeus could stand against the demon invasion. He took me along as a secretary, a historian, and most importantly, he entrusted me with recording his glorious story for future generations. In his crusade, Lord Tresbot performed many brave feats. Even he could not stand against the Worldwound alone. In his final battle with the demons, my lord realized he was doomed. His final act was to cover my retreat, so I could tell the world of his great deeds. Some people have said what he did was not heroic. It was an arrogant moron puffing himself up one last time. I say curse their tongues. My difficult journey ended in Mendev, where I found my freedom. Though I published Lord Tresbot's biography, I don't want to boast, but who am I kidding? Of course I do. The book sold in great numbers, and made me rather famous for a time. That's what brought me to the Queen's attention. She invited me to her court. After all, she was curious about my deceased lord. She was in great need of an expert on the history of the Worldwound. I hope you will find me useful as well. Do you worship any deity? She makes a wry face. When I was a slave in Isgur, they beat me with a stick to force me into believing in Asmodeus. They hit me and said it was for my own good. Ever since then, I don't like temples. I realize there are different gods, like Desna or Caden, who teach goodness and freedom. But it's just, as soon as I smell frankincense, I see the slave driver's stick. Maybe one day I'll be able to turn to a deity without cringing from a blow for not being reverent enough. But for now, let others pray for me. Nura's smile trembles and collapses. I know her sounds sincere. You feel that she's holding something back. So you're not just a historian, but a writer too. Will you write a book about my crusade? Haha, why not? As soon as we finish off the demons, I'll get right to it. Just take care that you don't end up like Lord Tresbot. Thank you for your answers. You're welcome. You should ask me about something more interesting. Tell me about the history of the Worldwound. Alright. I could talk about that for hours. What exactly do you want to know? Tell me about Old Sarkoris. It was an unforgiving country, inhabited by numerous tribes of Kelid barbarians. Imagine Numeria without the Metal Mountains, or the realm of the Mammoth Lords, with a milder climate. That's Sarkoris. The country is ruled by priests of forgotten deities and shamans. They said that even back then, before the Worldwound, the boundary between worlds was especially thin in this region. Since ancient times, Ascari has had his claws sunk deep into the minds of the locals. His cults thrived there for many centuries. Eridan tried to stamp them out, but in the end, of course, he passed away. How did the Worldwound come to be? It happened the year Eridan died, 4606, a little over a century ago. No one knows if the timing was coincidental, if there was some connection with Eridan's death. I'll tell you what we do know. Whoops, I skipped a piece. Let's go back. The priests and shamans who ruled Sarkoris hated arcane magic and all who practiced it. Wizards and sorcerers were driven from the land, or worse, one of their prisons held a witch named Aurelio Vorlesh. We know nothing about her besides her name, and of course, the atrocities she committed. By some unknown method, they managed to harness the terrible power of the demon lord Discari. Together they tore open the barrier between worlds, opening a rift to the abyss in the very middle of Sarkoris. The Worldwound slowly but mercifully expanded, devouring more and more land. In a matter of years, Sarkoris was a memory. After a moment of silence, Nura adds softly, "Sometimes I think, what do they do to Relo in that prison? Just imagine, she's ready to give herself to the abyss. Only the demons might devour her torturers along with her. Imagine such hatred. It terrifies me." Tell me about the First Crusade. It began in 4622. Yes, it took the church and the secular authorities nearly 2 decades and hundreds of thousands of lives before they decided to take action. In the meantime, Sarkoris was only supported by a handful of volunteers. By the time the crusade began, the demons had already invaded Mendev. The crusaders pushed them back, what must have seemed a total triumph at the time, the force of good easily crushing the demons on all fronts. They erected Drezen on the lands they conquered, an indestructible fortress, and the capital of the Crusader movement. In 4630, 8 years after it began, the First Crusade was declared victorious. It was the triumph of the Crusaders, and unfortunately, the last. What about the Second Crusade? In 4638, the Worldwound suddenly started expanding, and a new wave of demons appeared. Crusaders were all but delighted. Last time, they routed the forces of the Abyss, and they welcomed another chance to prove themselves. But this time, everything was different. Instead of scattered gangs, they faced a large and organized army. Drezen was besieged. The Crusaders lost all the lands they had won back before. They had to retreat, and all that remained of Sarkoris was left to the demons. While the monsters were devouring the unprotected lands, the Crusaders erected a chain of wardstones along the border of the Worldwound. We have Iomedae and her hail to thank for their help. It was the Second Crusade's only victory, but a halt to the wound's growth. The catastrophe had become a stalemate, at the cost of tremendous sacrifice. Tell me about the Third Crusade. About 50 years after the opening of the Worldwound, Ascari found an ally. Baphomet entered the war. A cunning, insidious demon lord prefers deception to open conquest. He sets his enemies against each other, and lures the virtuous onto the path of wickedness. Traitors appeared among the Crusaders, secret agents of his cult. For a time, no one suspected a thing, even as they watched helplessly as the Crusader movement fell into ruin. For once valor proudly stood, now greed and dumb cruelty reigned, and outrage was drowned in apathy. In 4665, the church announced a new crusade, hoping to boost morale. They didn't succeed, to put it mildly. Some fought the demons in earnest. For a time, they even dared hope to retake Drezen. But the Third Crusade would be remembered as a witch hunt, in every sense. Inquisitors hoped to purge any cultists from ranks of fighters, but instead they got a barrage of denunciations, widespread suspicion, and innocent victims. It sometimes happens that two orders would denounce each other as traitors and wipe each other out, much to the demons' delight. Just 3 years later, 4668, the church put the disgrace to an end. Of all the crusades, that one was the least glorious. Then about the Fourth Crusade. Of course, the demons had no intention of sitting quietly caged behind the Wardstones. They kept attacking Canabras, trying to reach the stone and destroy it, or just scratch its surface, or if even that wasn't possible, befoul it. The Crusaders drove the demons away from the city, again and again. The Fourth Crusade would last for 15 years, an exhausting study in positional warfare. The demons attacked, they were pushed back. The Crusaders went on the offensive, but were forced to retreat. All the while, the losses were tremendous. The Fourth Crusade's only achievement was that they didn't let a single Wardstone fall. They didn't retake a sliver of land, to say nothing of Drezen. So many lives, just to maintain the stalemate. You can imagine how that affected morale. Thank you for your answers. My pleasure. Just remember to stop me, or I'll go on about it forever. I have to go. If you have any questions, come back.
As it should be.
Oh, man. Alright, let's take a small break from reading and clear out these tents of new loot. Oh, is loot actually over?
Time's not waiting.
Here.
That is not far.
Oh, Haze, Foreign is here. Foreign Autumn Haze. Up before you casually rests his bandaged arm and the weapons at his side. He bows his head with dignity. I congratulate you on your new rank, Commander. My hunt demanded that I travel with your army. Naturally, I wouldn't burden your forces with the need to care for an outsider. I provided myself with all the necessities.
I'll go ahead.
I will save Sosiel for last, I think. Go talk to Seelah next.
Hello. So, what do you reckon about everything that's come crashing down on us? All the responsibility, command, this new power?
Seelah looks anxious. She's holding her sword. Her movements seem nervous. The girl doesn't even notice you at first. When she does, she smiles cheerlessly and stops what she's doing. I haven't figured it out yet. We'll see what happens next.
Watching and waiting is a good strategy. Probably. I'm still frightened by what happened in the Grey Garrison. Were we really chosen? By Iomade herself? You know, back when I was a snot-nosed kid who just started down the path to becoming a paladin, I imagined once or twice that I was going to do something heroic. The lights would shine down on me, the trumpets would sing, I'd hear the voice of the goddess, or at least her herald, you know? I'd be informed that I had been chosen for a great cause. But that's the point where my imagination always failed me. Somehow, it really happened. Without all the trumpets or the herald or even anyone explaining what I had to do. Though it's clear as day, my place is here, in this demon-ridden wound. Quite a lovely war going on, in fact. Endless, I hear. I'm gonna need some time to wrap my head around this. Spare me an hour and I'll crawl into some dark corner and whine about my hard lot. What can I tell you? I cry easily.
Seelah sighs, then laughs weakly. Weird that she was voice acted there. It wasn't for a quest or anything. There you are. Did you also receive a fraction of that unusual power? Looks like it. I generally hoped that getting away from you would be the end of it. If your gift truly did come from Iomade, giving me a smidgen of that power was a very subtle joke on her part. I had no idea that our divine Lightbringer of Mendev even had a sense of humor. Don't get me started on my many acts of sacrilege against her. That obscene engraving, the truth about the test of the Starstone is the tamest one by far. So how do you like your new role advisor? Daeran winces. You also enjoy poking me with that stick, don't you? Imagine it. Me, a crusader. My dearest cousin hoped to teach me a lesson. She managed it perfectly. An assignment I couldn't avoid without losing face. It's the idiotic journey leading straight to the demon's maws. I could have been on a pleasure boat right now, the loveliest songstress and pitax in my arm, and a bottle of the finest Kionan wine to keep us company. Incidentally, I blame you for all of this. Daeran lets out a sigh. Well, actually, I think Cousin Galfrey is to blame for everything that's happened to me. I suppose some of my misdeeds could be considered my own fault. I can hardly be expected to take responsibility, can I? Certainly not. Therefore, shall lay all the blame at your door, and plot my revenge. Gives you an innocent smile. I'd love to visit Heaven's Edge, and see the Erendale estate someday. Oh, I was just about to mention it myself. I've been thinking. Now that I'm in the middle of this whole crusade nonsense, I simply must devise new ways to have fun. With all the recent commotion, my birthday completely slipped my mind. What if we were to celebrate it at Heaven's Edge? It's not far from here. You'll get to enjoy a banquet in a bona fide haunted house. Daeran seems to have trouble getting the words out, which clearly indicates how rarely he has to ask for anything. Since you're my superior, and I'm your advisor, I'm obliged to ask your permission to leave for the festivities. I want to invite you too, so the commander can free up an afternoon while the soldiers are on leave. Are you really going to throw a banquet at the very place where your whole family died? Daeran purses his lips for a moment, before replying in a bored drawl. Yes, what of it? Am I supposed to weep and quake with fear for the rest of my life? I've stayed away from the darn place for 10 years, and now I'm going to return there to drink, dance, and be merry without a care in the world. You keep your squeamish disapproval to yourself. Alright, deal. Perfect. You have a ball, I'll make sure of it. Something strange flickers in Daeran's smile. Alright, I think that's everybody besides Sosiel. Oh, I didn't see Elior over here. Hi, Lore. Sosiel's gonna have a lot to say, so I'm gonna save him for last. Oh, and a blacksmith. We'll talk to him as well. Elior nods approvingly. Earn the title of commander. Knobber still stands thanks to you. You have to be doubly on your guard. The Eminence places a target on your back. There are assassins about. Killing a high-ranking crusader would bring a demon far more prestige than killing a common soldier. Not long ago, I estimated a few of the Spinner of Nightmare's attempts on the lives of influential crusaders. I know what I'm talking about. Which influential crusaders did you save from the Spinner of Nightmares? I've been hunting the Spinner of Nightmares for over a year. My agents, by that time I'd created a proper network, reported to me that she'd returned to Nerosian. I immediately suspected that she was planning a great atrocity. By that time, I learned all too well that the Spinner was a master of illusions and charms. So I never left the house without this. Elior takes a monocle from his pocket and puts it on carefully. This is the Eye of Truth. It allows me to see through illusions. My friend got it from the priest of Nethys. However, neither this monocle nor my network of agents were adequate to prevent the attacks. We're nearly too late. The Spinner of Nightmares decided to strike at the Cruciform Cathedral. They gathered to celebrate the victory of the First Crusade. It was a great holiday, and there was a lavish ceremony at the cathedral. The influential priest, Anthoclitus, was in charge of the festivities. They were intending to crown him with a tiara, a symbol of his high status. The sacred tiara had been replaced. The Spinner had obtained it in an Incutilus? A sentient and rather ominous cephalopod from the other end of the world. She raised it from an elver and trained it carefully. She cast an illusion on it so everyone would see it as a tiara. The moment its jewel was placed on Anthoclitus' head, the cephalopod would release its tentacles and penetrate the priest's skull. Its poison would seep into his brain. It would seize control over Anthoclitus' a dead body. Fortunately, we were able to stop this madness in time. I spotted the Spinner of Nightmares in the crowd, chased her down. We ended up crossing swords on the roof of the cathedral. I nearly defeated her, but she fled upon a giant stallion. I was able to run across the air as if it were on the ground. I was so close to catching her. She suffered a setback, but I let her escape. Elior's bitter and angry smile shows he hasn't made peace with his failure. Tell me about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. I think we've read this already. Yeah. Alright, let's go talk to Sosiel. And then we can finally call it an episode. This is the longest episode that I've recorded in a very long time.
Hello again. I'm very pleased to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
The young cleric stands before an easel, his brush hovering over the canvas without touching it. Instead of painting, the young man absent-mindedly gazes at the sky of Canabris, which is still streaked with towering plumes of black smoke. Finally he notices you and smiles, shaking off his stupor.
It's a pity I wasn't there at the Grey Garrison to witness your feats of strength with my own eyes. The flash, however, could be seen miles and miles away. Some people were frightened of it, thinking that the demons had blown up the remains of the keep. I, for one, knew immediately that it was a good sign. The light above the city showed us that there was still hope.
Who are you? How could you possibly be of use to my army?
My name is Sosiel. I am a cleric of Shaylin, the Eternal Rose and the Goddess of Beauty. Yes, I know that many people would consider me useless in a war. This is not a usual war, though. Just consider our enemy. The Abyss and his demons are the very embodiment of everything evil and ugly in the world. Perhaps a disciple of kindness and beauty might come in handy.
Sosiel smiles with embarrassment.
I have no doubt that we will win this war, Commander. We just have to. It is our destiny. My role is to help you, and all those standing by your side in this struggle, to survive and flourish. Everyone deserves the chance to find peace and happiness in the world that they are defending so selflessly.
What are you painting? The cleric's eyes linger mournfully on the canvas. The unfinished painting depicts a temple crowned with a rainbow-tailed bird, the symbol of Shaylin. 5 people dressed in robes stand before the temple, men and women, young and old. They all gaze back at you with radiant happiness, enjoying their serene eyes.
My brothers and sisters in faith. They sent me for help, and then they saved my life, Commander. If the Prioress hadn't ordered me to escape the city and seek help, I would have died right along with them. Instead, I met Queen Galfrey on her way to Nerosian, and hurriedly returned to Canabris, only to find my friends dead on the steps of our desecrated temple.
The cleric shakes his head in sorrow.
I want to draw them the way they live on in my memory. Wise, beautiful, and loyal to their goddess and their city to the very end.
Sosiel touches the edge of the canvas gently, as if patting a friend's shoulder in consolation. Yeah, this is why you have to treasure every moment you spend with the ones you love. Today you're together. Who knows what tomorrow may bring?
You're right. I took their company for granted and never even imagined that they might just disappear in the blink of an eye. So many words left unspoken.
Sosiel sighs heavily.
Now it's my duty to make sure my friends and tutors did not die in vain. I will honor their sacrifice by making this world a bit more beautiful and kind.
What made an artist enlist in the army?
Perhaps I am a true artist. or simply an amateur who defaces canvases in my spare time. My goddess is a patron of art, so painting is part of my prayer, and I put all my heart into my pieces. But I am a cleric above all else, so I must also tend to others. I went to war because here's where I'm most needed. Sure, I could be painting idyllic landscapes and offering empty prayers to my goddess, but that won't stop people from dying. My goddess has no tolerance for false piety.
You wanted to discuss something with me, right?
Yes, I have a personal request. Before we undertake our journey and leave Canabris behind, I would like to visit Martyr Zacharias' cemetery for a funeral. It's not far from here, and it's important. I would like to pay my respects to my friends from the Temple of Shaylin who died defending the city. Also, if it's not too much trouble, I would like you to come with me to honor their memory. Their friends and family will be at the funeral, and perhaps the commander's personal presence will bring them comfort. I know that you are burdened by many cares right now, so I understand if you can't find the time. But if you could, I would be sincerely grateful.
Alright, it's nice meeting you. Now I have to go.
You must be rather busy indeed. Leading a crusade all by yourself is no joke. I still believe that you are up to the task. This war has been raging for 100 years, but you've given us a chance at victory.
Good afternoon, Commander. How can I help you? Tell me about yourself. To be honest, I don't have much to tell. I had done little with life until I met you. If you want to know anything, just ask. Where are you from? From Andoran. I grew up in the outskirts of Carpendon, a large, rich city surrounded by gardens and vineyards. Just imagine, miles and miles of greenery and fragrant orchards. Sosiel inhales with pleasure, as if he could still sense the aromas of his faraway homeland. My family had a small winery. I worked there from a young age. I pressed juice, did a little carpentry, painted. And one day I discovered I could do more with paint than simply cover walls with it. There's a Temple of Seelah nearby. My brother and I would often spend our days there, listening to music and enjoying the stained glass windows. As a boy, my brother decided to devote himself to serving the Eternal Rose. My parents hoped that at least I would remain to run the family business, but makes an apologetic gesture and flashes a disarming smile. It can't be helped. The goddess called me too. It's alright. I have plenty of cousins, second cousins, and other relatives. When this war is over, I'll go back there and see how they're doing. So you're an artist? The cleric smiles shyly. That's too grand a word for it. But yes, I love to paint, and I know how to. Of course, a crusade isn't the best place for art. What I managed to draw here is at best sketches. I hope when this war is over, I'll be able to turn them into real paintings. Fascinating. May I see your sketches? There's nothing special in them, but if you're really interested. Sosiel hands you a folder with pencil sketches. You recognize familiar fighters in some of the portraits. The cleric drew them without flattery, just as they are. But beneath the features that seem boring and even ugly in life, Sosiel's hand has found inner beauty, power, and dignity. The tired faces of soldiers, covered with wrinkles and scars, resemble an army of angels. There are landscapes in the folder as well. First you'll understand why these blooming hills, shady groves, and shimmering springs seem so familiar. You've passed by these places as you traveled around the Worldwound. You saw them darkened and made by demonic influence. Sosiel's pencils restored them to their former beauty, which the demons stole from them, which the Crusaders are fighting to return. Instead of working as a craftsman, you decided to serve a deity. An interesting turn of fate. Sosiel nods with a smile. Some clerics are proud of their tender hands, which have never touched anything heavier than a brush. But there's nothing ugly about hard-earned calluses. Indeed, I should say that saving the world is easier with strong hands. The smile disappears from Sosiel's face, and he looks down, adding, I'm sorry these hands couldn't save the people who died at Canabris. How did you end up in Canabris? A grim shadow falls over the cleric's face. I was hoping to find Trever in the city, my brother. After my brother took his vows, was ordained a paladin of Shaylin, he departed for the crusade. He wrote home often about everything he saw, his battles, and the people he helped. From his letters, I learned that he had joined the Eagle Watch in Canabris. But soon his letters became infrequent, then they stopped altogether. We feared news of his death, but silence was our only answer. Not a word from him, or from his command, or his brothers in arms. Nothing. In the end, I couldn't wait any longer, and I came here myself, to find Trever if he's still alive. Or his grave, if he should have perished. but my brother seems to have vanished. I tried asking the other paladins. They refuse to talk to me. It's very much like they're trying to avoid the need to lie. I sent official requests to their orders command. Still, I wait in vain for an answer. I joined the local church of Shaylin, hoping to find out the truth one day, but the city was attacked by demons. And your brother is preparing to become a paladin of Shaylin. Did he learn some kind of art too? Yes, Sosiel smiles warmly. He's always been a good wood carver. Toys, whistles, window frames. Our house was the most beautiful in the area, all dressed in his wooden filigree. From the railing on the stairs to the wonder bird on the roof. You must love your brother very much to follow him here. You have no idea how much. I'd follow him to the end of the world, and to the abyss itself, if need be. Trever is an amazing man. I know he's alive. He's too stubborn to die. Hope one day he joins us, then we will surely triumph. How'd you end up at the court of Queen Galfrey? The cleric looks down. When the city was attacked by demons, there was a hospital in our church. Every one of us was prepared to fight to the last, to cover the evacuation. But my Mother Superior wouldn't let me join the fight. She sent for help, sent me for help. And everyone who stayed was killed. Why did she choose me? Maybe it was because I was new, the youngest, and least experienced of the clerics. That wouldn't be much help in battle. Or maybe she was giving me a chance to survive, while the rest of them bravely died. Shaylin be my witness. I did not ask for this. I'd be honored to lay my own head next to theirs. I ran to the closest Mendevian garrison. I don't know by what miracle I got there. There were demons all around. Everything was on fire. I remember my horse was killed right under me, while I fought off some shrieking monsters. When I came to, I woke among friends. My first thought was that it must be a dream. In my delirium, Queen Galfrey herself was dressing my wounds. But it was true. It was the queen herself, tending to a lowly warrior. That's how I ended up in her army. I marched with them back to the Canabris, to the ruins. How do you manage to always look like you're on your way to a tea party, not a battle? Sosiel looks down, for a few moments searching in silence for the right words. At last he softly replies. When I first got here, to the Worldwound, the word terror doesn't convey half of what I felt. The land itself here is maimed and mutilated, desecrated. More frightening still is what the war does to people, to their bodies and souls. For every knight in shining armor, there are hundreds of warriors whose souls are maimed with fear, suffering, and cruelty. Many have forgotten why they're here, and now know only war. When there's a break in the fighting, they drink themselves into oblivion and wallow in the mud. They're rotting alive and don't even seek help. They gave up on themselves a long time ago. Sosiel looks you in the face, and you see pain in his eyes. Don't misunderstand me. I don't condemn them. Quite the opposite. I want to help. And to do so, I must look after myself first. Not only to treat and support them, but to remind them that there's something else besides war. Now, there's a normal world out there. A place where blood doesn't stain the ground, and people don't sleep in trenches. A place where, as you said, they even occasionally have tea parties. The cleric smiles, but his eyes seem sad. You do so much to help others. I want you to know, whenever you yourself need support, you can count on me. Thanks for caring. I'm glad I now have a friend like you. I used to have no one to rely on besides my goddess. A shadow crosses Sosiel's face momentarily, but it's immediately replaced with an inspiring smile. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I promise I won't neglect myself. To serve others, I must have strength. Now, what is a servant of the goddess of beauty doing in a war zone? I am doing what the goddess destined me for, to keep our fighters safe. I am confident in our victory. The gods of good are on our side, so we cannot fail. But victory is not enough. I do whatever I can to help those who are holding off the forces of the abyss. They may live long enough to see victory, without losing themselves along the way. Every one of our soldiers deserves a home where people love them, and are waiting for their return. When our soldiers are finally able to get home, on that day, they earn the right to lay down my weapons forever. This seems a little flirtatious as well. Thank you for telling me about yourself. Sosiel nods to you with a smile. Tell me about your brother. Trever. He's always been my hero, ever since we were children. I was a coward, always telling petty lies, always running away from danger. Trever always ran toward it. He had this saying, an army stands until peace comes. A lie stands until the truth comes out. He never lied, never let injustice pass. Never. The cleric's voice trembles and breaks, and he shakes his head. He was 8 when he said he was going to be a paladin. He always went toward that goal, day after day, never looking back. I remember the day he went off to fight. I thought, this is it. The war will finally end. Trever will defeat all the demons and close the Worldwound. But... Sosiel gestures helplessly. Well, thank you for talking to me. My pleasure. Alright, so I think we're all caught up. I'm actually going to swap some equipment around real fast. Can I do this, though? I'd rather have him in the party than Camellia. I need someone to... pick locks for me. So maybe not yet. I do want him in the party. I have to invest heavily into Seelah's lockpicking. I also have Woljif. Yeah, because I'm going to kick Daeran out of the party. I don't want a healer going forward. Now that we're past like the quote early game. So maybe Woljif and... yeah, that's what we're going to do. Let's check in a couple of stats real fast and we'll, he does have a significantly lower trickery. Oh, does she have skill focus trickery? Oh, she starts with it. I don't think he does. Alright, that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna finally call the episode here. And the next one we will leave. Decided to go and get this out of the way because I know not everybody likes these like long talking episodes, so just get it all done. So if someone doesn't want to watch it, they can skip to the next one. It's a huge courtesy thing. You're finally done. We'll leave the camp and continue our adventure in the next one. For now, thanks for watching. Up to see you guys in the next one.